Silent code, the hidden empire. The clinking of crystal against linen in the grand ballroom of the Four Seasons in San Francisco was the only sound louder than the thumping in my chest. It was the annual Future of Tech Gala, the gilded cage where industry titans exchanged hollow compliments and proprietary secrets. I, Emily Vance, the celebrated impossibly successful CEO of Vanguard Innovations, was supposed to be holding court. Instead, I was nursing a watered-down champagne, wearing an outfit that screamed aspiring freelancer rather than billion-dollar disruptor. My disguise down to the slightly frayed hem of my thrift store cocktail dress was impeccable. "Oh wow, Emily, is that you?" The voice dripping with condescension belonged to Derek Hale, Vanguard's chief marketing officer, Ryan's right-hand man, and arguably the smuggest human being on the West Coast. I turned, forcing a bright, slightly desperate smile. "Derek, hey. Long time no see. Just freelance consulting these days, you know how it is." He gave me a slow, dismissive once-over. "Right, freelance. Must be tough competing with the giants, huh? Especially when your husband is practically running one." Ryan Blackwell. My husband. VP of Sales at Vanguard. The man who thought I was still struggling to pay rent on our tiny Oakland apartment, unaware that I owned the penthouse apartment he currently occupied in Presidio Heights. "We manage," I chirped, trying not to look directly at the man standing beside Derek. Marcus Reed, Vanguard's CTO. Marcus, the supposed architect of our proprietary encryption methods, was currently whispering conspiratorially with Ryan, who stood just across the room radiating his usual predatory charisma in a bespoke Italian suit. This gala wasn't about networking, it was about surveillance. For 6 months I had been living a double life, running the most advanced cybersecurity firm in the world, while simultaneously pretending to be the struggling artist wife of the man actively trying to steal it out from under me. The idea had sprung from necessity after Sophia, my COO and the only soul who knew my true identity, handed me the evidence encrypted logs, proving Ryan and his circle, Derek, Marcus and the others, Evan and Liam, were siphoning Vanguard's core AI algorithms. They weren't just planning a coup. They were preparing to sell our life's work to the highest bidder. Likely a state actor. My first move, I needed to know what they knew, and I needed them to trust the vulnerable Emily Vance. So Emily Vance, the graphic designer, was born. I spotted Sophia by the bar looking effortlessly chic, exchanging data with her wristcom under the guise of checking stock prices. She gave me the slightest, almost imperceptible nod. Asterisk. Phase 1 confirmation. Asterisk. I maneuvered through the crowd, aiming for the periphery where Ryan was holding court. I saw him laugh, that loud, performative laugh that always sounded hollow to me now. He was charming the pants off a venture capitalist known for his appetite for risky, unethical acquisitions. As I passed, Ryan caught my eye. His smile faltered for a split second, a flicker of annoyance perhaps at seeing his struggling wife near the big players. "Emily," he said, his voice smooth but laced with forced familiarity. "Still hustling? You should stop by the office sometime, maybe we can get you a low-level contract." "Marcus needs new slide deck templates." The insult was deliberate. A public display of my perceived inferiority. "That's so kind, Ryan," I murmured, dipping my head. "But I'm actually here pitching a few ideas. Big ones." He chuckled, turning back to the VC. "Big ideas from little freelancers. Keep dreaming, babe." Asterisk, dreaming. Asterisk, if only he knew the nightmares I was building for him. My gaze darted toward Marcus. His eyes were shifty, darting toward his briefcase sitting beside the VIP seating area. That briefcase contained the physical drive, the backup of the intellectual property they had already stolen. I took a deep breath. Time for the first small crack in their foundation. I walked casually toward the restroom corridor, pulling out my burner phone. The phone wasn't just a phone. It was a highly customized, single-use quantum scrambler. I typed rapidly, "Alert, briefcase located, perimeter secure, access window 2 minutes post-exit." The message went instantly to Jordan Hayes, our inside operative, planted as a mid-level analyst in Ryan's department. Jordan was the ghost in their machine. I paused outside the restrooms, watching the CCTV feed on a discrete contact lens display. Jordan was already moving, weaving toward the coat check area, a look of intense concentration masking his true purpose. I waited 30 seconds, letting the tension build, then stepped back into the main room, feigning a need for fresh air. As I passed the VIP seating, I executed the second part of the plan. It was a simple electromagnetic pulse disguised as a power surge from my cheap phone charger. A barely perceptible spike timed to hit Marcus Reed's new proprietary smartwatch, the one he insisted on wearing despite Vanguard's strict, no external hardware policy. Zod! The watch flickered and died. Marcus frowned, fiddling with it immediately. Damn thing, he muttered. That flicker was my signal to Jordan. He moved with practiced ease, brushing past the briefcase while activating a localized EMP burst targeting the case's internal tracking chip, a chip I installed myself during a previous romantic weekend away at their lake house. The theft was clean. No alarms. No physical tampering visible to human eyes. I watched Marcus realize his watch was dead, then quickly glance at his briefcase. He sighed with relief when the case appeared untouched. He hadn't noticed the data transfer, he only knew his expensive toy was broken. I slipped out onto the terrace, the cool San Francisco air a balm against my sudden adrenaline rush. Status, I whispered into my comm, disguised as a sapphire earring. Sophia's voice, calm and precise, replied, "Data acquired, Emily. It's worse than we thought. They've already packaged the core neural net schematics for delivery." My stomach lurched. To whom? Not explicit, but the payment encryption keys point toward a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands, linked heavily to known associates of the Kestrel Group. They're selling weaponized predictive AI, This isn't just corporate theft anymore. The Kestrel Group, a shadowy defense contractor known for destabilizing international markets. My ethical guardrails were screaming. I created Vanguard to times protect times data, not watch it become a weapon. We need to accelerate, I said, my voice hardening. The conference, Friday. I want them exposed live before the Kestrel deal closes. That's 3 days away, Emily. It's risky. Ryan will be expecting you to be home stressed about your portfolio. Let him expect that, I said, staring at the lights of the city, that I was trying to save one secret deception at a time. He thinks I'm weak. He thinks I'm too busy designing logos to notice the empire he's building on my back. He's about to find out that the silent partner is the one holding the master key. I slipped back inside, flashing the pathetic, nervous smile of Emily Vance, the struggling designer, ready to play my role, until the moment I burned the whole stage down. The next morning the facade was back up, heavy and suffocating. I was in our minimalist glass-walled kitchen in Presidio Heights. The scent of artisan coffee brewed by the automated system was fighting a losing battle against the metallic tang of anxiety. Ryan strode in, impeccably dressed for his 8 a.m. executive briefing. He didn't look at me initially. He was focused on his tablet, scrolling through the overnight market reports. "Morning," he barked, taking his mug. "You're looking tired. Rough night chasing that logo for the local bakery." I winced internally. "Something like that. I just feel like I'm hitting a wall creatively, Ryan. Maybe I need a break. Maybe a long vacation." This was the bait. The vacation was code for leaving town, so you can't witness my downfall. He laughed, a short, sharp sound. "A vacation? With what money, Emily? Be realistic. You need to focus on securing steady income. I need stability here. Vanguard is demanding a lot from me right now, and I can't have distractions." "Right," I said, fiddling with a napkin. "Stability." He paused, looking suddenly serious, leaning against the marble counter. "Speaking of stability, the internal audit flags flagged a minor anomaly last night. Some weird network spike around the executive data server. Marcus is looking into it." My heart executed a perfect triple flip. Marcus was looking into Jordan's Times entry point. They suspected a leak, but they were looking for an outside hack, not internal sabotage. "Oh, that's scary," I feigned, wide-eyed. "Like a data breach." "No, too contained for a breach. More like someone trying to sniff around the high-value assets. Probably some ambitious junior trying to impress the VPs." I told Marcus to flush the caches and tighten access protocols. He winked. "Good thing we have ironclad firewalls, right? Thanks to your initial architecture, Em. You were brilliant before." "Well before." He meant before I had given up to marry him and become irrelevant. "I'm glad something I designed is still useful," I managed, swallowing the bile. He kissed me quickly on the cheek, the contact feeling like static electricity. "I'm taking the Tesla up to Palo Alto. Big merger talks today. Don't wait up." As the automated garage door slid shut behind his car, I bolted for my secret office in the converted attic. A space Ryan believed housed my serious design portfolio, but which was actually Vanguard's global command center. Sophia, report I ordered hitting the biometric scanner. The room sprang to life. Holographic schematics of Vanguard's servers shimmered in the air. Jordan was already logged in, remotely accessing the stolen files they thought were safely stored in Marcus's encrypted drive. Marcus's investigation is focusing on an external source via a compromised VPN connection from a known competitor's IP range. Sophia reported, her face appearing on a side monitor. They have zero internal suspicion of Jordan, thankfully. But they are hardening the physical access points around the R&D labs. That means the full AI core upload is imminent, I deduced. They're preparing the package for transfer. We need to lock down the physical servers before they realize the digital trail they set leads straight to them. How do we do that without alerting Ryan that the woman who can't design a decent landing page is suddenly locking down level 5 security protocols? We use Emily Vance's vulnerability as a weapon, I said, pulling up a rendering of a very complex, very flashy graphic design presentation. Ryan hates it when I make a scene. Let's give him one. I outlined the next 48 hours, a desperate, brilliant plan involving a staged system crash at my freelance server farm, a frantic call to Ryan begging for emergency IT help, and Jordan piggybacking on the temporary access granted to fix the phantom virus. We need to plant the final piece of evidence on their personal devices simultaneously, I concluded, proof of their communication with Kestrel untraceable to us. Jordan, can you prep the payload? Payload prepped, Jordan confirmed. It's a bespoke zero-day exploit disguised as an urgent security patch update. Once executed, it mirrors all internal comms from their private chats. Text, email, everything directly to our secure server. Good. Let's make Friday's conference unforgettable. Day 2 was a symphony of calculated chaos. At 11:00 a.m., my freelance server, a heavily shielded box buried deep in a leased server farm 2 states away, began screaming alarms in a simulated meltdown. My phone rang instantly. Ryan. Emily, what the hell is happening? My contacts are telling me, your stupid website is spiking their firewalls. Are you running some amateur Bitcoin farm up there? His voice was tight with suppressed rage. Ryan, please, I don't know, it's crashing, everything's locking up, I can't access anything, I wailed, hitting the perfect register of frantic helplessness. I'm going to lose everything, please, you have to help me, your company has the best IT team. There was a pause heavy with decision. He hated being associated with my failure, but the idea of Vanguard's top brass, his potential new partners, seeing him ignore his wife's sudden public tech meltdown was worse. Fine, he spat. Don't touch anything. I'll send someone over from Palo Alto tonight. They can run diagnostics. But if this costs Vanguard a single second of downtime, you're paying the consultation fee. Thank you, Ryan, you're a lifesaver. The someone he sent wasn't an IT technician. It was Jordan Hayes, wearing Vanguard-branded overalls and carrying a standard diagnostic toolkit, a toolkit packed with my custom hardware. Jordan worked for 3 hours in the server farm, all under the guise of fixing Emily's shoddy coding. In reality, he was using the remote access granted by Ryan to plant physical listening devices in the executive suites at Vanguard HQ, ensuring no sensitive conversation would go unrecorded, and quietly installing the zero-day payload onto the network routers. When Jordan returned that evening, he found me in the living room, sipping wine, looking drained but relieved. Problem solved. He said, his voice low, careful not to let Ryan overhear the familiar cadence we used only when communicating the real mission. The firewall looked rough, but I stabilized the core. You're a genius, Jordan. I owe you big time. You owe me nothing, Miss Vance. Just get ready for Friday. The next morning, Thursday, was the final push. The Vanguard executive team, Ryan, Derek, Marcus, Evan, and Liam, were gathered in the main boardroom for a final strategy session before the conference. They were finalizing the Kestrel deal, believing the data was secure and ready for transfer immediately following their presentation. I was at home, ostensibly preparing my new graphic design portfolio presentation for a supposed networking lunch. Jordan was already in place, disguised as a catering staffer for the internal meeting, setting up the specialized AV equipment for Friday's livestream. He had a direct line to the broadcast uplink, the critical point of attack. At 10:30 a.m., I received a text from Ryan. Ryan, need you to drop everything. Come to the office as soon as possible. Marcus found something weird in the firewall logs. He thinks someone might be poking around. This was it. The trap was sprung. They were nervous, and Ryan was playing the concerned husband, drawing me into the physical location where they felt safest, Vanguard Tower. I quickly composed a reply times on my way. Terrified. Asterisk. I didn't go to Vanguard Tower. I drove directly to a sterile, soundproofed corporate safehouse rented under a shell company, my real operational hub. Sophia was waiting there, monitoring global network traffic. They're feeling the pressure, Sophia noted, pulling up a live feed of the lobby security camera at Vanguard Tower. I watched Ryan pace impatiently in the sleek marble entryway. They're not feeling the pressure yet, I corrected, pulling on a tailored razor-sharp suit I hadn't worn in months. The Emily Vance persona was being retired. They're feeling smug. They think they've patched the hole I made them think existed. I checked my reflection. The tired freelancer was gone, replaced by Emily Vance, the CEO, cold-focused and dangerous. It's time to deploy the listening devices, I told Sophia. We need to hear Marcus confirm the transfer key handover before we hit the kill switch. Jordan, meanwhile, had managed to subtly adjust the microphone sensitivity on the boardroom's internal comm system, feeding audio directly to Sophia's decryption software. The audio crackled to life. Asterisk. Derek strained Ryan, we're running thin on time. The Kestrel contact is expecting confirmation by 4 p.m. or the deposit vanishes. Asterisk. Asterisk. Ryan booming, relax Derek, the data is locked down. Marcus has the decryption key backed up on his private server. Once the presentation is done, we drain the offshore accounts and vanish. Emily's busy playing with Photoshop, she hasn't got a clue. Asterisk. Asterisk. Marcus nervous. I'm still worried about that network anomaly yesterday. It felt targeted, like someone knew exactly where we were looking. Asterisk. Asterisk. RYAN. You're paranoid, Marcus. It was a low-level freelancer trying to sell cheap malware. I'll handle the cleanup. We stick to the script. When I present the next-gen security model tomorrow, it's a smokescreen. The real product, the stolen AI core, is what we sell. Asterisk. My breath hitched even though I knew this was coming. Hearing him confirm the betrayal, seeing him so casually dismiss my existence was a new level of poison. They're solidifying the plan, Sophia whispered. We have everything we need for criminal charges. But we need to take down the Times product Times before it leaves the country. Friday's conference, I confirmed. The live stream is the delivery mechanism for the evidence and the execution platform for the takedown. Jordan is confirmed on site, ready to hijack the main presentation feed. I looked at the clock. 11:45 a.m. Thursday. Less than 24 hours until the explosion. I didn't sleep that night. I spent the hours refining the final code package, ensuring the real Vanguard systems, the ones protecting national infrastructure contracts, remained untouched, while the stolen intellectual property, the foundation of the Kestrel deal, would be wiped clean from all backups and rendered useless. I walked into the Vanguard Tower parking garage at 7:00 a.m. Friday early for the 9:00 a.m. investor conference. I was not dressed as Emily Vance, the struggling designer, nor as Emily Vance, the concerned wife. I was dressed as the CEO, sharp, intimidating, and entirely focused. Ryan stopped dead when he saw me emerging from the elevator onto the executive floor. He'd been expecting me to call in sick from our condo, racked with stress. "What are you wearing?" he demanded, eyeing my tailored black suit and the severe power haircut I'd used for high-stakes meetings years ago. "I'm attending the conference, Ryan." As CEO, I stated, walking past him toward the executive suites. He hurried to catch up his charm, dissolving into alarm. No, you are absolutely not. We agreed you'd be at home. This is an investor meeting, not a portfolio review for some startup. You're not prepared." "I am prepared, Ryan, more prepared than anyone in this building." I stopped at the doorway to the main presentation hall. "Where is Marcus? I need access codes to the main server room immediately." "Stop this," he hissed, grabbing my arm. His grip was tight, bordering on painful. "You are disrupting the presentation. You are embarrassing me." "You embarrassed yourself 6 months ago when you started siphoning R&D funds," I countered, pulling my arm free with surprising force. "I'm not playing your game anymore, Ryan. Where is the core data?" Derek Hale, sensing the escalating tension, stepped in smoothly, plastering on his corporate smile. "Whoa, easy there, Ryan. Emily, honey, this is a high-stakes event. Why don't you let us handle the Q&A? We need everyone calm." "Calm," I laughed, a cold, brittle sound. Derek, you're staring at the man who sold the company's backbone to Kestrel. You're staring at the man who's about to get indicted for corporate treason. Calm is what happens times after times the collapse. Ryan's face went pale. You don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here, Emily, before I have security escort you out. Security won't touch me, I said, looking directly at him. Because you've forgotten who hired them, Ryan. You've forgotten who owns the majority stake in this building, this company, and your stock options. The COO of Vanguard Innovations, Sophia Reyes, walked calmly from the side entrance, flanked by two men in sharp non-Vanguard suits, elite private security. Good morning, everyone, Sophia said, her voice amplified by the professional quiet of the massive conference hall, which was already filling with anxious investors and analysts. I believe Ryan, Derek, and Marcus have some scheduling conflicts to address before the presentation begins. Ryan looked like a cornered animal. Sophia, what is the meaning of this? I'm VP of Sales, you work for Times Me, asterisk. I work for the board of directors, Ryan. And the board, acting on intelligence provided by a confidential source, voted unanimously this morning to suspend all executive privileges pending an immediate internal audit regarding massive IP theft and potential national security risks. The investors were murmuring, sensing blood in the water. The stage was set, but the climax needed proof. The evidence needs to be public, I stated, pulling out my own tablet. The world needs to see what they sold. I nodded once to Sophia. She moved swiftly to the master AV console. Jordan, kill the feed, I murmured into my hidden mic. The massive 100-foot screen behind the podium, which was supposed to display the Vanguard logo, suddenly went black. A moment of panicked silence descended. Technical difficulties, folks, standard conference lag. Derek tried to shout, waving his hands toward the AV booth where Jordan sat hidden behind the catering setup. Then the screen flared to life. It wasn't a slick Vanguard marketing video. It was a raw, real-time feed from the boardroom captured just minutes ago. The projection showed Ryan leaning toward Marcus, his face tight with avarice. **RYAN on screen ****. Once the presentation is done, we drain the offshore accounts and vanish. Emily's busy playing with Photoshop. A collective gasp swept through the 500-person audience. Investors were scrambling for their phones, recording the monumental failure happening live. That's a deep fake, Ryan roared, lunging toward the stage. It's a hack, Emily did this. He was pointing at me, his mask completely gone, revealing the desperate, arrogant thief beneath. It's not a hack, Ryan. I stepped onto the stage, taking my rightful place center stage. It's a mirror. That wasn't a pre-recorded file. That was Jordan Hayes, our undercover analyst, feeding you back your own treasonous words from 5 minutes ago, streamed live across this entire broadcast network. I activated my tablet, and the screen behind me switched again. This time it wasn't video. It was data, encrypted transfer logs, Shell Corporation bank records, and chillingly the schematics of Vanguard's core AI algorithm overlaid with Kestrel Group's proprietary military targeting parameters. What you are seeing is the proof of illegal transfer of sovereign-level technology to a hostile contractor. I announced, my voice amplified and cutting through the chaos. This is not a disruption. This is accountability. Marcus, sweating profusely, tried to bolt for the executive exit, leading to the secure server rooms. Marcus, stop. Sophia's security detail moved instantly, cutting off his path. Ryan, realizing his entire career and freedom was vaporizing before the global financial community snapped. He lunged at me, intent on destroying the tablet. You bitch, you ruined me, he screamed, leaping over the security barrier toward the stage. This was the moment I had anticipated. I sidestepped his clumsy tackle, using the momentum of his blind rage against him. As he stumbled past, I grabbed the mic stand. And to the world watching, who are now seeing the real Vanguard innovations, I continued, ignoring the terrifying proximity of my estranged husband. This company was founded on the principle of protection, My initial architecture was designed to be unbreakable. Ryan and his circle attempted to exploit that very trust. But trust, like code, can be rebuilt on a foundation of truth. Ryan managed to grab my arm again, yanking me backward. The physical fight was brutal, raw, and utterly unscripted. Suddenly, two new figures emerged from the side exit: Evan Pierce and Liam Grant, Ryan's other lackeys. They weren't there to defend Ryan. They were there to save themselves, rushing toward Sophia, likely hoping to negotiate a deal or perhaps just flee the carnage. The evidence on your phones is already mirroring to federal servers, Sophia shouted at them, pointing toward the security detail. Do not move. The scene devolved into mayhem. Marcus was wrestled to the ground near the server entrance. Derek was frantically trying to call his lawyers, and Ryan was still struggling with me on the stage lip. You think you're better than me, Ryan gasped, his face inches from mine, adrenaline making his eyes wild. You were never talented enough to run this alone. You needed me to handle the Times business asterisks. I needed an honest partner, Ryan, I countered, pushing hard against his chest. I built the empire. You just tried to steal the crown jewels. In that final moment of struggle, I slammed the heel of my designer pump directly onto his instep. He howled and released me. Before he could recover, the dedicated security agents now working under Sophia's direct legal authorization swarmed Ryan, cuffing him swiftly. I stepped back, adjusted my suit jacket, and looked directly into the camera lens covering the stage, which was now broadcasting the arrests live. Vanguard Innovations will be restructuring immediately. Our commitment to ethical AI remains absolute. We apologize for the necessary turbulence, but transparency will always trump toxicity. I dropped the microphone. The sound of the federal marshals closing in on the remaining executives was the sweetest victory fanfare I had ever heard. The fallout was immediate, catastrophic, and precisely targeted. Within hours, Vanguard Tower was swarming with FBI agents and corporate investigators. Ryan, Derek, Marcus, Evan, and Liam were officially charged with multiple counts of corporate espionage, attempted intellectual property theft, and treasonous dealings with Kestrel Group affiliates. The media coverage was a firestorm. The story wasn't just about corporate corruption. It was about the betrayal of the Silicon Valley dream, the hidden wife who was actually the mastermind. CNBC headline: Silent code broken, Vanguard CEO reveals husband's treason in explosive gala takedown. Asterisk. Wired analyzed the ultimate insider threat, how Emily Vance turned her marriage into a cybersecurity sting operation. Asterisk. I spent the next 48 hours locked in the safe house with Sophia and Jordan, working with federal prosecutors to ensure the legal framework was sound and that only the guilty parties were entangled. The AI core is safe, Sophia confirmed, reviewing the data recovery logs. Jordan managed to execute the wipe script seconds before Marcus initiated the final transfer sequence. Kestrel got nothing but corrupted files and a very angry paper trail pointing back to their own shell corporations. Jordan, looking exhausted but exhilarated, leaned back in his chair. I think I'm done with covert operations for a while. Being a caterer is surprisingly stressful. You were magnificent, Jordan, I said, genuinely grateful. You're coming back to Vanguard. We're creating a dedicated internal integrity unit reporting directly to me. You'll lead it. I'd like that very much, Miss Vance. The question of my own methods haunted me. I had lied to my husband for years, orchestrated a massive public humiliation, and flirted with moral ambiguity by using potentially illegal surveillance methods to catch people doing worse. Sophia, I said, looking out at the dawn breaking over the Pacific, did I cross a line to catch them betraying the company? I betrayed the trust of my marriage and used deceptive means. Sophia, ever the pragmatist, set down her coffee. Emily, you caught a group planning to sell predictive AI that could destabilize global security. They were stealing the future. You responded with surgical precision. The law will judge the evidence, and the evidence points to their guilt. Your method of acquiring that evidence, while unconventional, was necessary against enemies who played by no rules. She was right. In the hyper-accelerated, often lawless world of cutting-edge AI development, sometimes you had to use a cleaner weapon to stop a nuclear one. It's time to step out of the shadows, I decided. 2 weeks after the takedown, Vanguard Innovations held its emergency shareholder meeting, not in the chaos of the gala hall, but in a newly renovated transparent auditorium. I stood on the stage alone. No board members, no VP of sales. Just me, and the promise of a new era. Vanguard Innovations is moving forward. I began, my voice steady, projecting confidence that was now entirely real, not feigned. The previous leadership attempted to corrupt our mission by prioritizing profit over ethics. That era is over. I announced the complete restructuring of the executive team. Sophia was officially appointed COO, and Jordan led the new internal integrity department. We introduced the Sentinel Protocol, a new open-source framework for AI ethics that made Vanguard the global gold standard for responsible development. The market reacted instantly. The initial shock over the scandal was replaced by aggressive investor confidence. They trusted the product, and now they trusted the leadership that had purged the corruption so ruthlessly. The fallout from Ryan's life continued to play out in the tabloids and court dockets. The prenuptial agreement, which Ryan had always mocked as overly conservative, ensured his separation from Vanguard, was swift and financially devastating. He was in county lockup, facing serious time. I drove by the Presidio Heights penthouse once, just to ensure the locks were changed. The silence inside was immense, a vacuum where years of performance had taken place. I didn't feel victory, only profound exhaustion and relief that the performance was finally over. My final act related to Ryan was closing down the old life. I signed the divorce papers, my signature clean and unambiguous. A week later, I was in the newly minted Vanguard R&D wing, watching engineers collaborate over holographic schematics, this time working on defense projects that would times protect data, not sell it out. Sophia walked in holding a sleek black envelope. A final piece of mail. Addressed specifically to you. No return address. I took it. It was heavy, expensive paper. Inside was a single typewritten note. Asterisk. They say revenge is best served cold. I thought you liked your champagne chilled. Asterisk. There was no signature. I held the note for a long moment, a faint smile touching my lips. It wasn't from Ryan. He was too loud, too blunt, and too busy facing the consequences of his own greed. This note had precision, subtlety, and a dark, lingering sense of performance. It was from someone who understood the game. Someone who recognized the silent code. I walked over to the recycling chute, a high-security incineration unit designed to atomize sensitive data. Who do you think sent this? Sophia asked, leaning in. I hesitated for only a fraction of a second. Was it one of the former Kestrel contacts warning me to look over my shoulder? Was it a rival CEO testing my resolve? I looked down at the elegant script. It didn't matter who sent it. The game hadn't ended. It had just changed players. The betrayal had forged something new in me, a leader who understood that sometimes the greatest defense is a perfectly executed, highly public offense. I dropped the note into the incinerator. The paper glowed white-hot and vanished without smoke. It doesn't matter, I said, turning back to the shimmering code on the monitors. They know Vanguard is watching now. And they know I don't design logos anymore. I straightened my posture, the weight of the company resting comfortably on my shoulders. The hidden empire had been dismantled, and now under the clear light of day, the real work of building an unshakable future had just begun.